This is a public hearing on ordinance number 1325.
Ordinance 1325-25, an ordinance to vacate a portion of the certain public alley at 2619 West Ethel Avenue in the city of Muncie, Indiana, Delaware County, Indiana. I'm sorry. Anybody here to speak on it?
Is there anyone here to speak on ordinance 1325?
Yeah, good evening. My name is David Carnes, and I'm an attorney with Dennis Winger and April here, 324 West Jackson Street. I'm here representing the petitioner, Robert Huddleston, on that petition to vacate the alley. If there's any public comment. I don't know if you want me to present right now or present it at the regular meeting, but we're requesting that the portion of the unimproved alley be vacated. There's an alley that runs behind those houses that used to be there on Ethel. They've been torn down. It's just kind of an open area at this point. And Mr. Huddleston owns the Tilton Plaza, which is all the area that's behind it. So he owns actually both sides of the alley that we're requesting to be vacated. There's nobody on either side, and if it gets vacated, it would just go with that property. That's what we're requesting.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the audience here that has comments on this ordinance? Okay. Okay, well, there'll be no comments from the council on this ordinance. We'll adjourn until the regular meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. We'll reconvene at 7 o'clock. Good evening.
Again,
I'd like to call the April 7th, 2025 meeting of the Muncie Common Council to order. If you'll rise, stand with me and face the flag. And join me and my fellow councilmen in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you'll remain standing for the invocation.
You want to introduce him? Introduce him.
Okay, Robert Scaife, Pastor Robert Scaife, will be doing our invocation this evening. Pastor of Union Missionary Baptist Church.
Shall we pray? Well, Father, we bless you and thank you again for who you are, God. You're great and greatly to be praised. We thank you for the wonderful opportunity to be able to serve in the capacity and to serve this city. Pray for this meeting. Pray for this council member, the council members that's representing the city. Pray, God, for wisdom to lead. I pray for a spirit of cooperation amongst each other. And then, Lord, I pray that every decision that's made for this city will be made for the betterment of the people. And it's all for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor.
Okay.
man, I need it to read.
Okay. Citizens recognition this month will be presented by Councilperson Rose Selvey.
Thank you.
And then next month's presentation will be done by myself.
You don't have one?
Good evening. Today, I have the pleasure to talk to you about David Robbins. David Robbins, affectionately known as Coach Dave, in the Thomas Park, Avondale neighborhood of Muncie, is a cornerstone of community engagement, youth development, and grassroots leadership. A native of the Shedtown neighborhood, Dave's roots run deep in the community. He now serves with tireless dedication. Since joining the Ross Community Center team in 2021, initially helping with maintenance, his unwavering work ethic and passion for people quickly elevated him to the role of sports coordinator. In this position, he not only oversees a range of athletic programs, but also becomes a mentor, role model, and advocate for countless youth and families in the area. Coach Dave is far more than a title. It's a name spoken with admiration and gratitude by children and adults alike. He coaches baseball, football, basketball, and soccer, ensuring there are always opportunities for kids to stay active, build teamwork skills, and develop self-confidence. The Ross Center sports programs would likely have disappeared without his leadership, yet because of him, they continue to thrive. He does not just coach, he creates a nurturing space where kids feel valued, safe, and inspired to grow. Whether on the field, in the gym, or walking in the neighborhood, Coach Dave is a constant presence, a steady force, and a listening ear. Beyond his work with youth sports, Dave serves as the president of the Thomas Park Avondale Neighborhood Association, helping to organize monthly community meetings and lead improvement initiatives. He listens intently to the concerns of residents and works diligently to implement meaningful change. His leadership is rooted in humility and action, making him a trusted voice in neighborhood development. David's contributions also extend to vital community support programs. He plays a key role in the Ross Center's bi-weekly market days, where fresh produce, meats, pantry staples, and hygiene items are distributed to residents in need. His selflessness is evident in every task he undertakes, no matter how big or small. He steps up not for praise, but out of a sincere love for his community and a deep commitment to its well-being. Coach Dave, in every essence, according to his friend Mike Martin, who is also a business owner in Muncie, is the glue that holds his corner of the community together. His impact cannot be overstated. Without him, many essential programs would falter. With him, they flourish, according to Mr. Mike Martin. David Robbins is a shining example of what it means to lead with heart, serve with a purpose, and lift others through consistency, compassion, and care. As a councilwoman and community advocate, it is an absolute honor for me to present Dave Robbins with the Citizens of the Month Award for the City of Muncie. This recognition is a small token, Mr. Robbins, of appreciation for the immense impact you continue to make in the lives of others. Coach Dave reminds all of us of the power of service, and Muncie is truly better because of him. Would you please come down? Coach Robbins is here with some family and friends, and we have two community members that would like to come say a couple words for you. Miss Clara.
Hi, I'm Clara. I live in Muncie. I mentor a handful of kids at Southside, so I got to meet David a little over a year ago with the kids I work with and got to see him in action at the Ross Center, and I couldn't say it better than Miss Selby did, but yeah, every time I get to talk to David, every conversation is very inspiring, and this is very well deserved and long overdue. And I have Mr. Tony with me, who also works with David.
My name is Tony Oden. David impacted me with his coaching and his life skills.
I appreciate everything from everybody. I appreciate our community, appreciate our city of Muncie, all of our community neighborhoods, everybody coming together and working together. So hopefully this is just a good start to all of us working together and collaborating with each other to make everything in our city better. So one thing at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time, and we'll get to where we need to be. That's all I got.
Thank you, Ms. Selby, and the recipient of the Citizen of the Month Award as well. Mr. Green, you have a presentation?
I have a few words I'd like to mention concerning Muncie Central High School, the winter drum line. Some of you may not be aware, but we have a new state champion here in Muncie, Indiana. They brought back the banner, #1 in the state of Indiana. This is the second state title for Tom Christ, first state title for Muncie Central. They've never excelled to this point before in the winter drum line, which allows the band to have step up when they come to marching this summer. So we'd like to recognize them. Good things are happening in Muncie. And a lot of it has to do with the dedication and the commitment of the young people. And we're very thankful. There were times that those young people After practice, Mr. Chris a couple of times was sick. The kids wanted to meet and have practice on their own. And they did. They showed their dedication and commitment. There was one young man, and I'll mention this, they were at state finals, and the young man became ill, and his mother wanted to take him out, take him to the doctor to be looked at. And he said, "I can't, Mom. I have to perform first." And after he performed, they won the title. I assume that she did take him after that. But those kids are really committed, and we appreciate their dedication. And it's something that should be an honor for us to be able to look upon and reflect upon, that if we work together, we can accomplish many things together. And tonight's award, Citizen of the Month, showed that as well. So I wanted to mention that.
Okay, roll call.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Here.
Green.
Here.
Dishman,
Present.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Present.
Gullion,
Here.
Powell,
Here.
and President Mason.
Here.
All present.
Okay. First order of business. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve
So moved.
or any changes to be made in the minutes from the March 6th meeting?
Move.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Gullion,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, committee reports. Are there any committee reports for the council? I do have one, but I am going to tweak it and have it for our May meeting. If that's okay with everybody on the 911 board. Okay, ordinances previously introduced. Ordinance 7-25.
Ordinance 7-25, an ordinance for transfer of appropriations, police/fire.
Is there a motion for approval of ordinance 7-25?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on ordinance 7-25?
My name is Tanya Pearson. I live at 1725 South High Street in the South Central neighborhood. I live near Muncie Hub, Muncie Ministries, Attic Window. I work with the houseless and addicted population in my neighborhood. I'm here to oppose Ordinance 725, which would transfer that $500,000 that Muncie received from the Opioid Settlement Fund to salary increases for the police and fire departments, respectfully. This would, number one, be an additional 5% increase on top of the 10% raises that Muncie Police received last year. And I'm asking that you wait until the Opioid Advisory Committee has been established before voting on this first transfer of appropriations. A little personal info, and I know I don't have much time, but I am an addict and alcoholic in recovery for 18 years. This is thanks solely to federal funding and to nonprofit organizations in my area. I was a homeless addict for about 6 years, and now I'm a professor at Ball State University. I do not represent the thoughts and feelings of Ball State, what that thing I'm supposed to say. I don't, but so thanks solely to this funding, social workers, therapists, a recovery community, and financial support, which was really important. Homeless, from being homeless to detox to rehab to a halfway house to a sober house. I was also the recipient of a local nonprofit organization's funding, and this nonprofit found me housing, they found me a job, and they encouraged me to pursue my education. My Muncie community members suffer from substance abuse disorders themselves or have seen family members suffer and die. I speak from firsthand experience when I say sobriety, meaning total abstinence, is only the first step. This money should and could be invested in both recovery and harm reduction centers, but also in long-term aftercare programs with a focus on longer-term goals like sufficient rehabilitation, followed by education and job training and housing stipends. Addiction is not a moral ailment. In my experience, the homeless and addicted community want opportunities to work and to contribute to their community. I can think of millions of better ways to spend this initial allotment, and I ask that you reconsider the passing of Ordinance 725 at this time and only until the advisory committee is established. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, guys. My name is Jason Chafin. I'm the president of Local 13 Muncie Firefighters Local 1348. During negotiations, it was with both us and the FOP, it was discussed how much we serve on the front lines of this opioid battle. You know, no one serves on the front lines like we do. Hundreds of calls, well over 300 calls of overdoses that we serve on the front lines for. These calls come in so often that we are very proficient on these calls. I mean, most of the times people aren't breathing and won't begin breathing until we get there. And most times by the time we're done with that call, they're walking and talking. So we interact on the end result of the opioid epidemic that goes through Muncie more than anyone, you know. So as we were discussing in our contract negotiations, and these funds played a key role in successfully ending our negotiations, and that what better way to appropriate some of these funds, not all, just some, was back to the people that are on the front lines doing this every day. And we don't just, you know, give out Narcan and leave. I mean, we're taking people to the hospital, we're referring services, we're educating, you know, we're doing it all right there on the front lines, you know, and, you know, so, like I said, that's why I found it kind of disheartening that it was even being discussed that this wasn't an appropriate, you know, use of the funds. And I have nothing against an advisory committee. I think that's a good idea going forward. This is obviously a 20-year settlement. This is a long-term, you know, a long-term funding mechanism that we'll be able to use as a community. That's awesome, you know, and we'll be able to use it for all the things, not just, you know, us in the final end, you know, taking these calls on the daily, but all the resources that these funds can help, you know. Like I said, I would be here tonight supporting 725, just so what we negotiated and how that funding mechanism work can go forward.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Vitale. I also need to say that the views that I'm expressing are my own and not of my employer. I also ask that you table 725. I recognize the need for raises for police and fire personnel. It is extremely important. However, this $500,000 wouldn't even go very far towards making the salaries of police and fire personnel competitive with surrounding areas. And it's also only for 1 year. So using this funding for raises would only cover a short period of time. But what's more, using opioid settlement funds for police and fire salaries goes against the spirit of the settlement funds. We're receiving these funds because citizens of Muncie and Delaware County have had their lives torn apart by substance use disorder. And in many cases, and for a huge percentage of this is due to big pharma, and they have been held accountable. And the people in Muncie and Delaware County, like people around the world who have been suffering, like Tanya, who spoke before, need to see that money directly helping their communities and thus our community and all of our lives. So we need this money desperately. Delaware County is third out of 92 counties in total drug overdose fatalities. And that's worse than we were in 2021 when we were fourth. 30% of our residents live in poverty. We are one of the least healthy counties in Indiana. And young people and adults in our community are suffering from trauma, a high prevalence of what they call ACEs, adverse childhood effects. So recently, the Indiana Youth Survey surveyed seventh graders and all students in Delaware County schools, lots of students in Delaware County schools, but one statistic that's noteworthy is 30% of seventh graders reported having had a parent who spent time in jail. So these children are suffering from trauma. And what's more, we don't have the services to meet that trauma. We are 42nd out of 50 states for our high prevalence of mental illness, substance use disorder, and lack of access to care. So Indiana is behind. People are suffering here and we don't have the right medical help. And then Delaware County is behind. And so we need the money to be paying for harm reduction and the crisis center. The mayor promised us a crisis center that was going to be a 24-hour crisis center open to anyone. And that is not what we've received. And what we need to do is we need to use this funding to respond to the communities who need it the most. Thank you.
Daisy Town record. Considering that 75% of our budget already goes towards public safety, we already gave a higher raise to police last year. This wouldn't make any major difference to how the opioid crisis has affected Muncie. The fact that we're even thinking about passing this ordinance is inhumane, but the main point I want to make is that Dan Reinauer should use other funding to give these pay raises to police and fire. Even though $2 million was cut from the general fund last year for the sole purpose of giving negotiating power to these groups, Reinauer has tried convincing them that the budget cuts prevent them from increasing their salaries. He did this while also spending the last 2 years trying to break apart the city employees union and pushing council members out of negotiation meetings. I could care less that this is an unrestricted part of the funding, considering how dire the situation in Muncie really is. Over the years, we're going to continue getting less and less state and federal funding, and we shouldn't be using money over and over again for public safety. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robert Miller. You guys all know what these funds were for. I don't have to tell you. So I want to make a point that I think will make sense to the people who are fiscally concerned about things. By giving this raise and using these funds for the police and fire, and it doesn't matter if they were going to the sanitary department, you're creating a hole next year, $500,000, a hole in the budget that you're going to have to fill with money from somewhere. Where's that going to come from? Well, I know of an 18-year settlement that you can pull money out of. And I don't know who's going to be on this advisory committee if it passes. So what's going to stop council or a future council from looting that fund to pay holes that you're creating today? That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Matt Wagley, Deputy City Controller. Just wanted to point out that this $526,072.77, excuse me, represents less than a third of the amount appropriated for this year. There's $1,138,450.51 that is to go directly to the treatment of opioid addiction. And we negotiated with the police and fire unions based on this funding. If we don't have this funding, we can't pay for the contracts. If we can't pay for the contracts, the mayor may have to declare an economic emergency. And if he does that, we'll have to break the contracts with the police and fire unions. And I guess ask them to come back to the table and ask for less. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, Craig Wright, City Controller, Mayor sent out on February 24th, the funding proposal on that where he had split the unrestricted opioid funding by 263,036 for police and fire, and the rest of it we're coming from the savings from the three positions that were cut out from the budget, from the deputy mayor, deputy controller, and the communications director. So that's how the funding was split up on that.
President, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So I've reviewed Resolution 825 and 725, and neither of them says it's contingent on receiving, or on this appropriation being adopted.
Run that again.
The contracts for 725, which is with the FOP, and 825, which was with 1348, and neither of them points out that it's contingent on that ordinance 725 being adopted.
Well, I just
Is that
know that,
Omitted by accident, or was that, I mean, that's some information that council should have been made aware of.
well, it's, basically what we're saying on this is we're using this money from the opioid on the unrestricted for 1 year for this and move forward. And next year, we will look at the funding moving forward.
Mr. President, may I ask that? Please do.
Yes, Sarah, go ahead.
I just want to follow up on Councilwoman Powell's comment. Not only were they not, did not say it was contingent upon those, we weren't involved in the negotiations, so we hadn't any idea that this was coming from those funds, because we weren't involved in any kind of negotiations. We weren't in those meetings.
Dale Basham.
I believe Dale Basham attended the.
I attended as the representative from both sides. I did not participate in a way that was intrusive. I was there to listen and to
Report back.
yes.
But the contracts weren't contingent on this particular funds, but if we don't have the funds, we can't pay for the contract.
Mr.
Sure.
Mason and President Mason. So you negotiated with money that you did not have?
We negotiated with money that was, no, we negotiated with money that the council appropriated for this year's budget. You appropriated the opioid money.
What line item was that?
Yeah.
What, please,
What's the line?
what line item was the opioid appropriated?
Wasn't in my budget.
141-19-439-006. Opioid or 140-19-439-006 and opioid distribution unrestricted. The funds were appropriated. We
So the
thought
funds-
we thought this was a reasonable expenditure of them, since these are the two departments that were most affected by the opioid epidemic.
So just for clarification, the money was appropriated into the budget, but it was not designated as appropriated into the police or fire budgets, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
I guess this is appropriate time with you guys here to talk about the fact that we did find more money within edit just a couple weeks ago, $650,000 that was, appeared from nowhere
That's
to buy a
economic,
piece of
that's
property.
economic development. I don't think that applies to this as
I
the
think it does.
opioid distribution, I believe, does.
Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Wagley, is edit dollars being used for any other salary?
They are being used for the salaries that you folks cut.
In order to release funds for the negotiations? So
They were,
edit dollars
no,
can be used for
it was
salaries?
it was not in order to do that. You folks cut it. The mayor wanted to fund 2 positions out of edit funds. So that made the funds available since you folks cut it, which is fine. But we think that the opioid distribution
Thank
would be
you.
reasonable to fund the 2 departments of this city government who were most affected by the opioid epidemic.
But just for clarification, you said that edit dollars cannot be used for salaries because it's economic
I didn't-
development.
no,
I
I
was
didn't-
wanted to point
I
out that
didn't say
edit
that.
dollars are being used for salaries. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Joseph Souza. I'm a senior political science major at Ball State University. I'm here to oppose Ordinance 725, which I think is a gross misuse of public funds that goes against the spirit of the settlement from which these very funds came from. As much as I support public safety and their interventions, all public safety can do is respond to the crisis of the opioid epidemic. They don't actually respond to the actual root of the problems of substance abuse or addiction. They can only respond to crisis. As some have already pointed out, 3/4 of our funds already go towards public safety. I think if you actually want to support public safety and make their jobs easier, you would invest this money in addiction and recovery services. Just imagine what a fraction of these funds could do for an organization already involved in these services, organizations here in our community like Muncie Folk Collective or Recovery Cafe. Lastly, I do want to say I think there is sort of a sick irony in giving police officers who arrest people for drug infractions kickbacks with opioid resettlement money. So.
No.
On that job.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Hello, my name is Ryan Mills. I am a Muncie resident. I lived here all my life. And I just want to say that I oppose Ordinance 725 because I feel like that $526,000 can be allocated better towards opioid rehabilitation that will actually do well for the community. Because I've seen how opioid epidemic has affected our community, and especially in East Central Indiana, and with a devastating effect. And that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Brandon Qualls, president of FOP Lodge 87. So I just want to get up here and talk for a minute. There's been a lot of conversation about the raises that we've gotten recently. So I know you guys all heard this at the last city council meeting, but just out of the departments that are in the 77 pension fund, even though the city of Muncie is about the 12th largest city in the state, the Muncie Police Department is 103rd in pay, and that does not include any of the sheriff's departments who are actually much, much lower in pay. We're not even competitive, which is why we have not been able to properly staff the department, which is why we've been fighting that battle to try and become more competitive, because unfortunately, if we don't have the staffing, that means a reduction in service to the community. And it would be a terrible day indeed if we don't have the officers to staff the road to respond to these crises that are going on. Because nothing against fire, but police are often already mobile, and we get to these calls before they do and administer the Narcan before fire or EMS can get there and start that life-saving procedure before they get there. And then they take over and start with the advanced life care. I'm not going to talk about everything that everybody said. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but we are not getting a kickback from these drug calls. We go there, we save lives. And this county is also leading the state in the number of dealing resulting in death cases. And that has a large impact on the community. And our detective, our uniform division is fighting that battle and putting those cases together and sending them to the prosecutor's office to put those drug dealers where they belong, which is in prison, so they can't poison our streets anymore. And if we don't have the staff to properly staff the department, it's going to be harder and harder for us to do that. And the only people that are going to suffer from that is the community. And that is not the type of service that we want to provide. And so I just would appreciate the support for this, and I'll stand for any questions.
Since January 1, can you tell us what we have lost to, I'd say, other departments? How many officers we have lost to, Winchester, Newcastle, Kokomo?
I believe since January, it's 4 or 5.
Okay.
I can get you a definite answer. I'm trying to remember when certain people left. I believe it's 4 or 5 officers since January. And like I said, I just got a message today that Madison County Sheriff's Department just got a huge raise over the next 3 to 4 years, and their salary is going to be blowing us out of the water. And that's just the trend across the entire state. And unfortunately, that's what we're battling against to try and recruit people.
Right. One more. I have battled, my family has battled with addiction since I was born. I will say my dad died in 2001, and what got another member of my family clean was the fire department. So I know that you do come and you do battle you're on the front lines. It's nice to hear that you do give them, you're not just battling it, but you're there letting them know where to go and what they can for help. My family is better because of the fire department. And it was a very near, I don't want to speak her name, but very near and dear to my heart. She is my number one. And she would not be where she was if it was not for the fire department on the day that my father passed away. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's moving.
I just wanted to add to the comment you made about how your officers are leaving for better pay.
Mhm.
Is that honestly every officer leaving for better pay?
No, and that's what I said the last meeting.
I just needed the public to know that.
Yeah, no, that's a leading cause, but it's not the only reason.
Okay, thank you.
It's also lower calls, lower call volume. If you can go to another agency and make more money and take considerably less calls for service and work less hard.
But they're not all leaving for that reason, though. Right?
No, I'm not saying they're all leaving for that, but those are two major reasons. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. President. Dale.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Dale.
Going back to this new raise, and by the way, thank you for all you do. And I know that Brandon thanks you and the departments as well for taking care of his family in the way that you take care of many others. But returning to the concept of this new raise in Madison County, isn't Madison County already recruiting for officers? And could you talk to us about the issue of moving from one department to another and how attractive that might be?
Yeah, so I mean, we're obviously recruiting for officers that are on other departments, just like every other department, because we're all battling for the same amount of officers that are available, because the number of new people that are coming to apply is low all over the state. It's not just a us problem. So if you were transferring from one agency to another that's under the 77 pension fund, all of your time for service comes with you. So if you are working at the Muncie Police Department with 10 years of service and you go to the Fishers Police Department, you can work 10 years and retire under their pension plan.
Yeah. We need to keep our people.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I double dip, or is this not allowed?
There's people been.
One thing.
I'm going to add one thing. It's going to be about 35 to 40 seconds.
No.
I think we're talking about an economic, yes?
You're gonna have to go to the end of the line. We've got a long line of
Okay.
people here.
Where's the line?
Hello, Holly Yipe, community advocate. I don't even know where to start. Like, I'm pretty sure intimidation is when you come and you threaten people. And I feel like the police department just threatened our community to not respond to calls if we don't give them another raise after 6 months. Like, I'm sorry. I appreciate the hard work that you do. Everybody in this community works really hard, and we can't just go and ask for a raise. The average income in this town is $44,000. We have to work with what we have. And it maybe part of that is reimagining how we react and respond to crisis and trauma. We can't, I've had police officers when my neighbors have been ODing on the street corner say we can't police our way out of this. We can't nonprofit our way out of this either, but we have an opportunity with these opioid funds to make a bigger impact and do something really unique. What is $500,000 going to do for raises for what? there's probably 100 police officers and 100 fire department people. What's that, like $2,500 a person? No one's moving. No one's picking up their community and their family and saying, I'm going to move here for $2,500 more. That's crazy. And that the mayor, that he negotiated contracts without council, promising money that he doesn't have, that council has to approve, is ridiculous. Like, where do we live? I'm sorry, I don't even know what else there is to say, except that when police officers get arrested for drugs, their contract and their union protects them and gets them treatment. So let's give treatment to the rest of our community. That's all.
No. Anyone else?
Elizabeth Edgel. I think it's preposterous that we would think that we should put the policing agent to fund them over the people with the problem. It's not working. Was it working when many of our police officers were arrested and went to federal prison? Was it working then? It's tearing it down. And it goes with that too. It all is connected. These communities, these neighborhoods, they can't take much more. And they had a fund sitting there. How long has this fund been sitting there with that money in it? Waiting on what? Is this a rollover edit fund now? And I would like some council member, maybe not large member, to follow up on whether or not we can use that for salaries or not. Because if we can't use it for the police, then I want to change for the other two. We need to start doing things by the law, the way they're supposed to be done, through proper channels, proper policies, and stop circumventing council, circumventing Board of Works, circumventing everything that you're supposed to do in the proper order you're supposed to do it. That's why we're in this mess. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having us. I'm Dr. Sally Archer-Jones. I'm one of the social workers of the Muncie Police. I'm Ashley Snyder. I'm an MSW working toward my clinical licensure. I'd also like to point out I also have my LCSW, my licensed clinical social work. So for those of you who are unaware, in the audience as well, Muncie Police has hired 2 full-time social workers, and we've been on the road since June of 2024. Our salary is covered by the opioid dollars. That's not police intimidation. That's not police getting kickbacks. That's licensed professional social workers receiving funds to help our community. So far, we have done everything from helping families secure guardianship for troubled adult children, working to clean up encampments for unhoused individuals and to find housing for them where appropriate. We provide comfort and support to families in crisis as police investigate the death of their loved ones. We also provide harm reduction, as several of these community members have mentioned. We provide Narcan as appropriate, and we also provide Narcan prophylactically. So for individuals who we suspect may be using some sort of opiate, might need it at a future time, friend, family member, we do participate in harm reduction as well. So a major component in our work is to respond in real time with the officers. We listen to the radio, we go out on calls. Our goal is obviously helping the community receive the resources, but also to reduce the time the officers spend at scenes, particularly those that are more social service issues or psychosocial service issues, so they can get free to be back on the road. We could not do our job. We could not help these individuals. We couldn't do anything we do without the lovely support of our administration, our officers, and our detectives. Together, we have over 20 years experience. We are both graduate level, educated, and licensed professionals. That's what this work takes. Licensed professionals who have the education and knowledge to respond appropriately. The amount of calls and the complexity of our calls was surprising even to those of us who have worked in this environment, as I said, for close to 2 decades between the two of us. It is shocking, and I think people underestimate, certainly based on the comments so far, the complexity of the calls our officers respond to in a typical 12-hour shift and the amount of trauma they are exposed to daily.
We understand that there are limited resources and not everyone has demands. We together are working to help that. We have helped get individuals the monthly INVOCATION shots to help with their ongoing substance abuse issues. We have transported individuals. We have responded with officers to overdose and helped get these people into rehabs. Again, we know that they are limited, but we are working daily to get this community where it needs to be with the resources that it deserves. Not providing appropriately for law enforcement officers would affect their ability to respond to calls and continue to serve our community. Our officers are balancing a very difficult job while also raising their own families and having other responsibilities. We have seen firsthand the dedication of our officers as well as the toll this job takes on them daily. I have seen officers give death notifications to families and then break down. I have seen officers explain the death of children because of tragic accidents. I have seen officers sit there and let people cry on them. I mean, these officers are amazing and they work tirelessly daily. The least we as a community can do and as citizens can do is provide an appropriate wage to help compensate the work that they do. An investment in our law enforcement is a direct investment in our community. As Deputy Chief Deegan's numbers are going to show, there are multiple issues our community is facing, and that without the police to address these issues, we will not be able to attract individuals to Muncie, maintain current citizens' housing prices, or increase the quality of life. I would just like to point out that just since June, since Dr. Sally and I have been on the road, her and I have been to approximately 700 calls.
Oh,
And that's just the two of us.
say that again.
700, sir.
Since when? I'm
Since
sorry.
June of 2024,
I'm sorry.
8 months. We've
Sorry,
had
Mr.
700. We responded to 700 different calls, 700 citizens to respond to needs.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you have anything? No, thank you.
Councilman.
We all appreciate what the police do up here. I know we do. And I was happy when they hired the social workers. I think that's a great use of some of these kind of funds. The funds though that you're being paid with are from the state grant side of it, correct?
A portion of some, but a majority of it, I believe, is opioid dollars.
Yes, but the opiate from the state fund, correct? That where you
I
apply.
believe so.
And yeah, it's
Deegan.
different than the funds that we're speaking of today.
Chief Deegan can clarify that for us. Yeah,
Okay.
he'll clarify.
Well, I'm asking now. So I mean, that's correct. Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Councilman Gear.
Out of the 700, can you kind of briefly, or Chief Deegan briefly, let us know how much were opioid related to those 700?
So we actually spent a good amount of time getting those numbers, and Deputy Chief Deegan is going to speak on that.
Okay.
He's going to clean up with the facts.
Yes.
Are we over half or under, Deputy Chief? With the opioid related, are we over half of the 700 or under? Okay, thank you. So safe is 50-50?
Well,
Yeah, okay, thank you.
If I may.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Councilman Garrett.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say half is just overdose because as we all understand, these social problems have a level of complexity. So for us, it's not just, this is an opioid case, it's an opioid case with homelessness and mental health issues. So with physical health issues, with an inability to get housing, primarily as part of the individual's autonomy, they refuse to participate in the services that are provided. So we are trying to fill up gaps and provide care wherever we can while respecting what the individual wants.
Thank you for your honesty. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything from the
Thank you
council?
for your time.
Thank you.
For what you do.
Mary Beth Lambert. I live at 2010 South High Street. I'm the owner and operator of Your Private Gardener. My opinions are also the company's opinions. So I live across from the old Wilson School, the original Wilson School. We have a lot of green space. We have a lot of areas where people live rough. I routinely hand out coffee to the people in my neighborhood who live rough. I have in the last I've been there 19 years. In the last 6 or 7 years, I have, with the greatest admiration, called on the police and the fire department to help with people who are overdosing over on the Wilson property in my backyard, across the alley in my company property, throughout the neighborhood. I have incredible admiration for what they do when we need them to come solve a crisis, an immediate crisis. I actually also know Dr. Jones, and I've listened to some of her evening stories after a very long day, and what she deals with is amazing. And I also think that that was one of the best things that ever happened to our police department was hiring social workers, and I'd love to see us figure out how we could do more. I also take care of Cannon Commons. So I, more than anyone, deal with the individuals who choose, and I readily let sleep and live on the stage. And if you want to debate the whole let thing, basically I have a relationship with those people who come down there. I have administered Narcan to individuals on that stage.
Oh.
I'm also a small business owner, and like many small business owners in Muncie, Indiana, struggle to find individuals to fill the employment positions that I have. And I have had several individuals who have been hired who ended up not being able to stay because they just could not get everything they needed in order to get over their addiction. And there weren't enough resources for me as a small business owner to always be able to find what I needed to help them to be able to become an employable individual. And I guess at this point, because let's face it, this is not an easy situation. It's not an easy topic. There's not an easy, simple, we'll do this and we're going to solve this problem. I hearken back to some of the first two people and just ask that you at least table the ordinance this evening. Give yourself a little bit of time until we do have a little more information about, one, what the other money is going to do for our community. Because right now, I think, yes, and again, great admiration for the services that the police and fire department give us in the immediate crisis. But what are we going to do as a community to get past needing people to deal with the crisis? And that's my biggest concern at this point is we have the unrestricted funds, but we also have restricted funds. What is happening with those? And then I'm also going to pull out this card. Being one of the 5 people who floated the first bond in the city of Muncie 20 some odd years ago to fund the rebuilding of Tui Park Pool. How do you maintain a line item in your budget, also as a small business person, that you are creating now? And if you're going to create those raises, where are we getting that money down the line? When I give a raise to one of my people, I have to know I can sustain that and I can continue to pay them. And that's another question I have for you is where does that money come once this money is gone? I fully believe our police and firemen deserve to be paid more. I fully believe that many people in our community deserve to be paid more. But we need to be able to be logical about where we're getting that, because anybody that knows me knows my tagline. Muncie has a chronic disease of not being able to maintain what we create. And if you're creating a raise today, how are you maintaining that? Thanks.
Hello, my name is Bernice Graham, and I am a resident of the Whiteman neighborhood. This is also my very first council meeting, and I just have to say, I'm not sure where we're going with all of this. This doesn't make a lot of sense because we're talking about police officer and fireman raises, and I'm a psych nurse. I love policemen. Policemen have saved my tail lots of times when crazy people are after me just because I'm taking care of them. And I believe they need raises. I believe they deserve as much as we can give them. And firemen. Who's going to run into a burning house? Not me. But the whole thing, it's almost like we're pitting the community either for or against the policemen and the firemen, and that's not what this is about. It's about taking care of what we're getting the money to take care of. If it's an opioid distribution, use it for opioids. This neighborhood, this city is in terrible shape. I don't have any numbers. I don't have to have any numbers. I've lived here my whole life. I'm 70 years old. This neighborhood, the city is in terrible shape. You can't walk out like you used to be able to do. You can't do anything. What would we do if we didn't have the policemen? We'd be in trouble. But the thing is, they get all these calls about the very thing that we're trying to take care of. If we take care of that problem or reduce the numbers, then their calls are reduced. They're not having too many calls. But we got to be able to separate this. This is apples and oranges. That money should go to what it's supposed to go to and help people with opioid problems and help addictions and whatever. Give us some social workers, and I know that's the plan, is to have some social workers already working with the policemen and working in the neighborhoods. But we shouldn't be arguing about whether or not we give the policemen money or firemen money. That's a really bad way to make this out, because we're not trying not to give them money. It's just that the money is dedicated for something and it should go there. And if the policemen and the firemen need raises, and I don't doubt they do, I was a nurse. I needed more money than what I was getting paid for getting popped in the head and all kinds of stuff. But then the city needs to find out a way to do that without usurping somebody else's funds.
Amen.
And that's all I have to say.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wayne Scaife. So, first thing, can y'all explain the one gentleman that spoke and said, if you give him this raise, where's the money gonna come from next year? Was he correct? Will that be like a hole in the budget where you have to find that money next year? If he uses opioid money and to keep that money up, will they have to find that money in the budget next year? Is that correct, Angela?
Basically.
Does anybody know?
I think eventually they would have to, because this money is not going to last forever.
Okay, so, and you just cut 3 positions because of budgeting, right?
Last month, I believe that Mayor Ridenour said that they would not be using opioid monies next year for these raises. So I'm not sure. That's a question for Mayor Ridenour, where the money would come from next year. So unfortunately, we don't know.
Okay, a couple things I want to say is nobody's saying that the police shouldn't get a raise.
Nobody's saying that.
It's saying the issue is where the money's coming from. So use the money what it should be used for. And the problem I have is if the social workers are getting paid through this money, and she mentioned all those calls, I'm sure all those calls were related to opioids. So that was a misdirection to say that they've had 70-something calls since June, or 700, whatever it was. So, and if we're looking for money,
$650,000 was just spent on an empty building. And we're talking about $526,000. Why are we using that money? And I was upset last month at the last meeting because I thought that money was supposed to go to a center, but I'm past all that now. Use it for what it was supposed to be used for. And, you know, like I said, the police officers deserve, you know, give them money, but this recruitment and retention, let's be honest with each other. Some people don't want to be police officers. Some people don't want to stay in Muncie. It's not always about the money. Some people going to leave if you do give them this money. Yeah. Recruitment and retention only, it's only beneficial for the people that's going to stay here and not going to go anywhere anyway. Because you're still going to lose people. You just gave them a 10% raise and y'all still losing people. So let's be honest. It's not always about the money. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you had something to say. But yeah, let's use this money what it was targeted for. I apologize for last month because I got upset because what you told me, I didn't know the mayor had made that comment. I just knew they was going to get some money. I didn't know that's where it was coming from. So I apologize for last month, but let's use that money what it's targeted for. And one more thing, as I sit down, can y'all explain if that 500,000 is unrestricted money?
Yes.
What's the 1.1 million in the restricted fund? What's that going to be used for?
Mr. President,
Just for point of clarification, for those who weren't here last month, we do support police and fire. We adopted 9-0 their contracts, which give them a 5% raise. So there's no council persons up here. I echo what Mrs. Graham said, that we're not trying to not give them a raise and that we believe that they deserve to get as much as we can give them. We voted 9-0 to give them a 5% raise. So just for clarification, we're not arguing whether or not police and fire, and I don't think that the disparaging remarks that have been made are warranted. I don't think anyone's getting a kickback. We support our police and fire.
Yes.
We, again, voted 9-0 to give them these contracts, which include that 5% raise. So that is a non-issue. It's not whether or not they're going to get the 5%. We voted for that. It's now just the information that we've been actually given tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, about how that might be contingent on this ordinance.
Hello. My question for you guys is, obviously, police officers and fire departments, they all need to get paid. I totally agree with you guys are coming from. But from a community standpoint, it doesn't help the community because there are things going on in the Muncie community that could be better. And you guys as politicians, yes, what is this $50,000 going to actually do to help people? Like, I get it, but it's not going to help. It's only going to help one side. It's not going to help everybody. And you guys as politicians need to come together and figure out a way how it's going to benefit the officials, like local officials, and the residents of Muncie. Because all this is doing is just causing a bunch of division and chaos, and we need to get things done. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. Chris Deegan, Muncie Police Department. I'm one of the deputy police chiefs. We've had a lot of good discussion here, and that's what makes kind of this forum and this community great, is everybody can voice their opinions. Right, wrong, or indifferent. What's before you tonight is use of unrestricted opioid funds essentially to be appropriated, which have already been appropriated, to be transferred to help compensate police and fire salaries. The first line of defense in this crisis that we have is your first responders and the number of calls that they go to. Every single officer for the Muncie Police Department is stocked with nasal Narcan, first aid supplies, and everything else that they need to deliver life-saving missions on the calls that they go to. So when we're talking about whether or not these funds should be used or can be used for this, if we have an understaffed police department, I think that I heard earlier that, this is an intimidation factor. The reality is, the lower the staffing goes, the more strain that exists on the public safety agencies to deliver the appropriate, timely services. And in these instances, when we're dealing with people that are suffering from addiction, mental health, a litany, a myriad of things that could be going on, because a lot of these are all intertwined, becomes very, very, very challenging. And so the principle, I believe, behind this is to make sure that we continue to provide the resources to stay market competitive, to ensure that we do not lose people. I think I just heard Mr. Scaife say it's about people staying, right? Recruitment, it ain't working. We're not recruiting through the nose, right? Right now, my focus as an administrator, the city administration's focus, your all as the elected officials' focus should be, how do we maintain a fully staffed police department and fire department and all the civilian departments that make this city run? Okay, the data that I have here, and I've heard data get cited throughout this whole thing, I'm going to give you data straight from our call log. Okay, I pulled 12 months worth of data. We have over 300 responses that we can point to if they were reported this way directly to overdoses, whether that's drugs or alcohol, whatever it may be. Okay, of the 161 man-down investigations that we pointed to overdose-related activity or drug-related activity, that led to 27 death investigations by our law enforcement department. Okay, that's the officers responding, that's the social workers doing their necessary follow-up to deliver social services to the impacted victims and families, and that's the detectives that work these cases tirelessly to ensure that the people, that if there is somebody to be held responsible in these instances, they're held responsible. We work very closely with the prosecutor's office to make sure that we're following all applicable and appropriate charges for dealing resulting in death. We are spearheading efforts to tackle this problem. The funding for this is going to help us ensure that we maintain the appropriate staffing to still deal with this problem. And it's going to require, like I said, and I think you could probably go back to the meeting minutes from the last time that I was up here at City Council meeting, we all collectively have to figure out what the next step is moving forward, okay? I wholeheartedly agree with a lot of what everybody's been up here saying today about the community is in need of services. This administration has created a social services program, one of the first in the state, to help us in our efforts, okay? And it's my responsibility, the city's responsibility, council's responsibility to ensure that we continue to have funding for that, because they are delivering results. We're seeing it, okay? This problem is not going to get corrected overnight, okay? We're dealing with decades worth of drugs and that have flown into this community that we're going to we are now having open and honest discussion about how we resolve this, okay? But it can't be resolved from the public safety side of things if we can't maintain staffing. And that's what this is about. I'll stand for any questions.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Again, as everybody knows, 35% of that money is going to restricted use. And those funds, I want to just let everybody in this room understand, that 35%, which totals around 900,000 this year, goes to, must be used for opioid remediation effort as outlined in the settlement. So that 35% goes for remediation, including treatment, prevention, and educational programs. So there is money that the settlement has dictated. That's where that money comes from. The other 15% of the unrestricted funds that the state is allowing us to use without restriction. They're trying to figure out what the communities, only 80% of municipalities in the state of Indiana have addressed this issue or started using this money. I've done my work on this. They gave us that leeway because each city will have its own needs for that 15%. You cannot fight addiction without the help of the first responders.
We are one of the first municipalities that's trying to shape what we're going to do with the unrestricted funds. And for us to think that we can battle this epidemic without the first responders is a little bit, kind of iffy. So I appreciate what you do. There will be, and if you look through the agenda, there's other issues that are gonna come up. Council person, I'm sorry, Sarah Gullion has come up. So we will have a grip on it at one point. But for right now, we need the social workers. We need the people that deal with the families and show services. We can't act like that is not needed. So 35% goes directly to prevention. I'm going to read it again to you. Must be used for opioid remediation efforts, and it's outlined in the settlement, including treatment, prevention, remediation, and education programs. So there is money that's going to go for that. When I'm going to say my personal, if I may, Mr. President, my personal opinion, for this year, I'm on the fence of this because I think the salaries are needed. I want to see more social workers that are involved in this for us to figure it out as a community. Saying that police officers are getting kickback, it makes me sad because the other way on Memorial Drive, this gentleman sitting there overdosing. I'm just standing there, I was like, I carry Narcan. Should I get out of the car? And all of a sudden, there comes the fire, there comes the police, and they're taking care of this individual. His buddy is sitting right next to him, doing nothing. So yes, they are the first people that come out. We need their help. I need you to tell me, are you doing any workshops or on how you treat people with Narcan? I mean, are you getting, professional development or
Our continuing education.
a continual education? I apologize when I get stressed out. My English
Yeah,
gets really
our
bad.
continuing education platform is pretty robust. We have state mandates that we're required to teach every year.
Okay,
That
could you tell me more about those? So classes that you teach,
That is a very,
training,
right. I'm
Okay.
trying to. That's a very robust program that we go through.
Okay.
We're required by the state to, I think the state minimum requirement is 24 hours of continuing education every year, which is very, very low in our opinion as administration. So we put forth much more into our training efforts.
Okay.
We go through CPR, AED, first responder training, Narcan training. This is all stuff that we do annually. Okay. I could stand up here and talk until I'm
Okay.
blue in the face about the amount of training that we do.
Thank you. That's all I had to say.
Mr. President.
Yes.
All right. You're right. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things that I want to talk about, that we do have to take care of police and fire up here too. That's part of what we do, but we also have to take care of the rest of our citizens, right?
I agree.
And you talked about how we've had decades worth of drugs that have, made it very difficult for you all to do your job. It's made it, it's really hurt our city in a lot of ways, obviously, and our citizens, our residents. So that's kind of, the point of this whole opioid is because we've been so ravaged, and this is for the whole state and here also by the opioid and the companies and the pharma. So this is like a once in a lifetime. I mean, we're never going to see this again. Yes, this goes until 2038, but each year we get a little bit less. Don't you think that prevention also helps you all? And at some point we have to really focus on the prevention so that you guys aren't having to deal with that so much. Again, we believe you get a raise, right? We voted for you all to get a raise. You
Sure.
know that we all support that. What I'm talking about at least is looking at other ways to fund that.
Sure. Prevention efforts are obviously important, but I am a foundational person. I always have been since my time in board positions with the union. The foundational component is the problem that we have right now is the amount of work that our first responders are responding to. and it's starting to weigh down on them when other municipalities have found a way, whatever it is, to adequately compensate them. And if we start to lose people, right, then the first line of defense is out. So in my opinion, the first line of defense matters the most currently, and then we readdress with until 2038, the remaining funds as we continue to battle this together.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Miss Sarah Gillian, you just hit upon it, and he just hit upon it. Being a nurse, one of the first things I learned in nursing school was, and it was a poem called Fence on an Ambulance, and I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it, but it's about a house that's up on above a cliff, and kids running around, and it's dangerous. And do you want to put a fence up there to keep them from falling? Or do you want to have an ambulance down below for when they do fall? Muncie is a sick city. It has high risk factors for drugs and alcohol. So what we want to do is do the prevention, not come and scoop them up off the ground after they've gone splat, because everybody's not going to be safe. And that was the most important thing I think everybody needs to think about. We have to get the community well, and we can't do that without doing prevention.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And in my research on this, it talks about these funds and the primary efforts of these funds being prevention. Stop drug use before it starts. You know, I think these funds would be better served stopping it before it starts. You know, you put emphasis should be put on supporting children, youth, families, you know, making long-term investments and effective programs and strategies to change our communities. Mr. Creek.
Pastor Neil Crane. I live in Thomas Park, Avondale neighborhood, and yeah, it's a hard time to be in charge of money, isn't it? It's a hard time to do public safety work. And all of these things are important. I want to acknowledge that. There's a lot of things that are happening in the community that the city is not paying for. And I think it's important to understand the weight that our community carries in the absence of some of the funding that is not available for things like treatment, for things like detox center, for things like outreach workers. I am, to my knowledge, fortunately, the social workers are here, wherever they are, because we show up in a lot of the same spaces where people are. So now there's more people that are out, you know, engaging and building connection with people. But that's a big need. I spend a lot of my time building connection with people who have opioid use disorder, spending time with families who have DCS engagements because of opioid use disorder, spending time with kids whose mamas, grandmas, dads are dealing with opioid use disorder. I spend a lot of time with families whose parents have been taken away, are incarcerated because of opioid use disorder. And so while this is Muncie, this is my neighborhood, I work with so many people in my neighborhood, so many men, so many women with drug felonies, and they're struggling to navigate how to get jobs, how to access services. It's a very complex thing. And when I used to live on the north side of town, I hardly knew anyone. But in my neighborhood, I can walk up and down the street, and in just about, I don't know, every couple of houses, there are multiple people who are struggling, not just with substance use, they're not just smoking weed or something, they're struggling with opioid use disorder. Fentanyl is killing neighbors. We are a part of coalitions of people who administer Narcan ourselves. We do community Narcan training. Actually, some of the frontline workers in our community who are doing the most to reverse overdoses are drug users, because they have Narcan in their hands that have been provided through Overdose Lifeline. We distribute anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 doses of Narcan a month to Muncie community members to use to reverse overdoses that are happening in the community, in addition to all the people that police and fire are administering Narcan to as well. So I just say that to say I agree with what everyone says. I agree with what law enforcement is saying about this. We need help. We need help. But we also have to think about, we can't just always be pulling people out of the water. So at some point, we got to look upstream and say, why are so many people in the water to begin with? And I can tell you from the families that I know, I can tell you how kids, young kids, 13, 14 years old, become drug dealers and get charges like dealing resulting in death. It's because their dads are locked up, their moms are locked up, there's someone on fentanyl at home who's taking care of them. They pick up a gun, they get connected with a group, they start slinging drugs to make a little money. Sometimes that money is to pay for food in the house. I'm not saying that's every situation, but a lot of the guys I know who've navigated their way out of the justice system tell their stories of living in Muncie, and it was immense poverty that led them into drug dealing, that led them into the sort of lifestyle that we're all trying to figure out solutions to. My request, I wouldn't even know how to make the decision that you all are going to make. I'm not even going to offer my suggestions. But my request is to create opportunities to help the people of Muncie's burdens to be alleviated through the use of these monies, because I believe that's what these monies were intended to be for. I would like to go down to my neighbor who lives down in Shedtown and say, hey, there's some help and opportunities coming. When I first met her, she broke her foot, she got on pills, she got addicted to pills, and now she's on fentanyl, and her boys have grown up in the place where she lives, in and out of DCS engagement, in and out of the schools. They don't even go to school now. These are like middle school kids who don't even go to school. And all of that is like substance use disorder. This is what happens. And I agree with what Ms. Bernice said, that these are like, this is a disease. And not just for the individuals who face it, but this is a disease on our community. And we have waited way too long to come up with positive solutions to address why there's so many neighbors falling into the river. We have to come up with new solutions. We go out and do outreach, we connect with drug users, we bring them into relationships, we get them jobs. I know other people in the community are doing that kind of work too. This money could be used for more outreach workers. This money could be used for more social workers. This money could be used to enhance some of the services that exist that need expanding. We could use this money to expand medically assisted treatments, which have been proven effective for people specifically struggling with opioid use disorder. So my encouragement to you is to consider all that. Like I said, I don't think I could even tell you about how you should decide about this particular thing, because I believe that law enforcement, they need to get paid. Fire, they need to get paid. But there is a weight on our community right now. It's a heavy, heavy weight. And it's not just my neighborhood. I also work in Crosstown. I also work in Whiteley. I also work in Southside neighborhood and visit with people who are living in tents, garages, abandoned houses, sheds, all because of opioid use disorder. And we could do things like create housing. We could do things like create recovery services, and we could do things like put out into the community more outreach workers to build relationships with people who are
Not just saying, I'm ready to get better, but people who are stuck in the cycles that people find themselves in when they start using opioids, or really any kind of drugs, because everything gets all mixed together these days. So anyway, those are my thoughts to consider. Good luck.
Okay, we're gonna take a short recess. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Do we have to have a motion?
No, I think you're allowed to say whatever you want.
5-minute recess.
Okay.
My name is Jeremy Reese. I live in the industry neighborhood. I just tell you guys, I feel bad for you all having to really make a huge debate. You know, I feel bad for the people who have to deal with the addictions that we're discussing this in regards to. I feel bad for all the people who felt like they needed to come up here and fight for this money to be spent for people who have addictions. I feel bad for the police officers and the first responders who feel like they have to fight for their raises. I feel bad for all of that, and honestly, it doesn't have to be. We got this brought to us in a way that makes us pit against each other and fight against each other, rather than saying, hey, you know what, maybe it's not an either or, maybe it's a both and. You know, maybe we take this back and, like everybody said, you know, table it for a week or for a month, and, you know, let the mayor try and figure out another way to find his money. You know, that actually could be a way that we're not pitted against each other, that there could be a both and rather than the either or in this situation. So just think about that.
Thank you.
Hello, Holly Ipe returning to the microphone. A little less spicy this time.
Okay, Holly, if you could keep it under 3 minutes.
I can definitely do that. I want to just bring us back in time about 3 minutes to when Neil Kring was speaking. I have the pleasure and the honor of frequently working with Mr. Kring in some of the outreach community. When I heard the police say that they took 700 calls, it wasn't surprising to me at all, because I know how many calls organizations like the one I work for, which I'm not speaking on behalf of, I am speaking as an individual, that we take every day, every week, about people that are struggling and need help. And a lot of times there's nowhere for them to go. I love that we have social workers with our police. I don't know what happens to people, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just like, if you have social work secrets of where people can get treatment, care, housing, food, I want to know what they are, because I want everybody in the community to have access to that. And I think it's fantastic that we have social workers on our police force. I'd love to have more. I'd love to have more police. I'd love for them to not be an intimidating presence for myself or other people in the community, because that's the basis of power, right? Is sometimes it's intimidating. We got to embrace that. It's a real thing. But we also have to embrace that we could have a community that we're all dreaming of. Every single person here has said they want a community that's safe. They don't want to be having people that are suffering from addiction. Our police officers are feeling the burnout that our social workers have. We all have kind of low income here in Muncie. And what we could have with a really innovative, better community, if we just vision what it would look like if we had a safe community that had world-class care for the people that live in that community, more people would want to come here. And if more people want to come here, then our tax base grows. And if our tax basis grows, we can hire more police officers, we can hire more firefighters, we can give them a better wage, and their work won't have to be such a heavy load because there's more of them and the community's better. But we cannot sustain every year, oh, we'll just dip into the opioid funds and give another raise. And that's it. I hope it was under 3 minutes.
This made.
Hello, my name is Natalie Jones. I'm a student over at Ivy Tech, and I just wanted to put my voice behind the others who are opposing the action of taking this opioid relief money and giving it in form of a raise to our law enforcement. I agree with those before me that obviously there is a place and a need for the officers in this city, but as many others have said, it is in the name of the settlement. It is an opioid relief or opioid settlement. And just to echo the gentleman who spoke to us before the break, I really think that we should be investing more into our community, into the people providing with these outreach services, into housing, into treatment. We can see all across the board, all across the world, and just in the country and in the state, that treatment for the individuals who are suffering from opioid addiction, treatment is the leading cause of recovery and a healthier community. And I just wanted to put my voice behind the others opposing this action. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Lynn Whitty. I am a retired physician, and I just call myself a community advocate at this point. But I would like, as everyone has said, I've had the pleasure of working with all the deputy chiefs of the police department on various projects. In fact, first was bringing over an intern social worker from Ball State, because I didn't know why they were spending all their time doing things that a very specialized social worker can take care of and do well. And they are so busy. I've been saved by the fire department. They need a raise. They need competitive salaries. And I'm not going to tell you all how to do any of this, just if you could make it happen. But they need it because we need safety in the community, and they are outstanding. Their programs, their community outreach, everything they're doing right now is amazing, and they don't need a quick fix. They need long-term support. On that note, I have spent most of my time over the last several years working as a volunteer. All my work's volunteer, but with addiction issues. And I have strong reason to do that with family members that have problems. I will tell you that addiction issues are a continuous stream. There is no reason that someone is going to be cured if there's a drop in services. You have to supply continued services in order to get someone through. They won't do it probably the first time, but having a crisis center, having a mobile unit, having a crisis center, having IRACs. I was a large part of IRACs because I believed in peer recovery. And when you get out, you don't go back living next to your dealer. You support them in whatever they need. But then you still need to go into recovery housing, treatment, MAT, people to peer recovery. There is a continuation of services. And if you drop that, there's going to be a continued worsening of the problem. So I'll leave it at that, but there's plenty of items that we can use money for. But I still want the police and fire department to have a raise too, so.
Thank you.
Audie Barber, sorry I'm late, folks. The opioid center still isn't open, or the center down there still isn't open. We spent about $1.4 million on that place. Still not open. Every now and then you drive by there and you'll see a couple cars here, a couple cars there, but they're not open for business. We spent $1.8 million on this facility next door. We spent $650,000 for an old bakery that's worth about $150,000 down here on Walnut Street. Now we're going to take this opioid money and we're going to give these police officers and firemen a raise. I don't have a problem with them getting a raise if we've got the money to give it to them. Here's the thing. You hear burnout. That's all they're saying. Burnout, burnout, burnout. I don't care how much money you give them. If they're burnout, they're not going to be unburnt out because they're making an extra 10% this year. That's not going to help with the burnout, okay? So when you take that money and you give them that 10% raise, think about their burnout, but they're going to come back next year and say, oh, we're still burnt out. We need more money. I understand that. Firebase EMS just started 5 years ago, folks. Ms. Powell knows the fight that was. If the firemen are burnt out, maybe we need to turn some of the money that's in the $4 million account. We haven't heard how much is in the account in the last couple of years because nobody will give us numbers. But at one time, there was about a $4 million surplus in there that they used to buy all this equipment. Maybe we can use some of that to pay for these raises. Maybe we need to use more edit money to pay for the raises instead of wasting it on $650,000 for a building down here on Walnut Street because they don't want a gas station to go in there. Okay? That's for starters. But you hear burnout. That's all they're talking about is burnout. No amount of money is going to keep them from getting burnout, folks. And I just do want you to remember that because you do have to come with that raise somehow because last month I told you guys, if you vote that through, you have to come up with the money. You have to come up with the money to provide the raise if you can't use the opioid money. Guess what? It's time to pay the piper. That's why I feel that when you vote that resolution in, that if you vote that resolution in without knowing where to pay for it, that I think you're treading on thin ice there when you do that 2 different months. So I know you have to do it that way, but I think you need to get your money, your ducks in a row before you can vote on that stuff. So.
After Mr. Barber's done, may I say something? After Mr. Barber's done?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I have a question for someone.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, like I said, think about that before you guys vote to turn $900,000 opioid money that should be spent down there on that center to be open.
Okay.
So that's my thought.
Thank you, Artie. Yes. Nora.
Mr. Craig, or Mr. Wagley, could you come up, please? Either one. I just have a clarification. So you said earlier, if we don't adopt this, it will throw us into economic crisis. What were the plans for next year?
We'll look at the budget next year. We have to see what the taxes are going to be next year.
Okay, so there is no
generally-
plan for next year.
Generally, we have a 3.5% increase in revenue,
Okay,
which amounts to about between $1.2 and $1.5 million.
so just again, after listening to an hour and a half of people come up and explain why we need these spent, and both sides are very, very good causes. And I agree with Mr. Jeremy Reese, who said this is a horrible situation. You've negotiated a contract and allowed us to vote on it last week without telling us that it was contingent on those opioid funds being appropriated,
The opioid
Yeah.
funds have been appropriated
without using without this additional appropriation being adopted.
with revenue that had been with appropriations that the council approved.
Again, you negotiated a contract and allowed us to vote on it last month without telling us that without adopting 725, that it would send us into economic crisis. Hold on a second, please. And so both sides are very deserving. The police should not have to get up here and argue why they deserve 5% because you do. And the community should not have to plead their case for prevention services. I've had numerous emails from people within my district and quite frankly from people within your district, Mr. Garrett, on why we should use this for prevention. And so you've placed the council in a horrible position where we have to choose between 2 very good causes. And so I say shame on you, the administration, for putting the council in this position where we have to choose between 2 very, very worthy causes. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Just to clarify, 6 of the 1,664,523.28, 68.4%, which is $1,138,450.51, is dedicated strictly to the treatment of opioid addiction.
And that's lovely, sir, but you did not tell us last month that if we did not adopt this ordinance, that it would throw us into economic crisis. That was never in the minutes. That was never explained to council. And so I feel that was a lack of transparency on your part. I feel it was very unfair to this council to put us in this position. And I'm very frustrated with this situation, sir.
Mr. President.
Yes.
And to go along with that, again, I go back to the negotiation, the fact that we were not in the negotiation or it was not shared with council.
Representative
That this
from
was,
council was in
it was not shared with council. It was not shared with council that that was part of the negotiation either. And we did ask for someone to be in there who would actually share it with council, and it didn't happen either.
Point of order. Can't speak out.
Any further questions?
No further questions for me.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we table this.
Second.
And
Second.
that then the administration can then figure out where else that they can get that money to make up the opioid fund.
Second.
I seconded that already, but I'll let you second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded that ordinance 725 be tabled. Roll call.
Roll call.
You stay on the roll
Yes.
call.
Selby,
No.
Gullion,
Yes.
Garrett,
No.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
No.
Green,
No.
Dishman,
No.
President Mason.
Yes.
6 yes, or 6 noes, 2 yes.
Let's call question and let's just do it. Question.
Question.
Question's been called.
Question's been called.
On the main motion, which was to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt.
It's a
Second.
Oh, shit,
It's been
I
seconded.
Okay,
apologize.
it's already been made and seconded. Roll call.
Selby,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Powell,
With my apologies to the police department, no.
McIntosh,
Same here with apologies. No.
Basham,
Yes.
Gullion,
No.
Dishman,
Yes.
President Mason.
No.
5 yeses, 4 noes.
All right, four.
It adopted. It passed,
5 yes, 4 noes.
which is also a good thing. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Okay, ordinance number 8-25.
Ordinance 8-25, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R-4 Resident Zone to the BV Variety Business Zone on premises located at 2810 West Ethel Avenue, Muncie, Indiana, 47304.
Okay, sir.
Good evening, President, Councilman. My name is David Carnes, and I'm an attorney with Dennis Winger and Averald, located at 324 West Jackson Street here in Muncie. I represent Mike Lunsford with regard to his request to change the zoning from the BV Variety Business Zone on this premises from the R4 Residence Zone. This building has been there since 1966. Mr. Lunsford has owned it since 1999. It's always been commercial. When the zoning was put into place, I'm not sure how the zoning was made residential. There's actually an adjacent building to the north that's identical to this one. It's 9 commercial units. And they've always been commercial units since its construction. And we're just requesting that the ordinance be approved to make it essentially what it should have been to start with, is in a business zone as opposed to the residential.
One question, Mr. President.
Yes.
I just want to confirm that these are all businesses. There's not anyone, none of them are being used as residences,
No,
correct?
none of them have been residences. They're small business shops, symphony orchestra, and a bunch of other different businesses that are there.
I don't believe they've ever been residential, right, since the zoning's been changed? Well,
No.
Okay, thank you.
Always been commercial.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, I make a motion to adopt
Second.
ordinance 825.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. We adopt ordinance
Thank you, Lacey.
825. Voice vote. Roll call.
Gillian,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 11-25. Ordinance 11-25, an ordinance fixing the maximum salaries of each and every member of the police department of the city of Muncie, Indiana for the year 2025.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Anyone here to speak?
Just real quick as a reminder, I think it was discussed last month that section 3, there was a typo saying it took
Yeah,
effect
that's right. Yeah.
January 5th, 2024. I think that seems to be amended to 2025.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we amend section 3 to reflect that it takes effect January 1st, 2025.
I second.
I think
Okay,
it's
motion's
January
been made and seconded that we amend it.
5th, January 5th, I'm sorry, January 5th, 2025, thank you. And then, Mr. President, I make a motion to adopt ordinance 11-25 as amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to adopt.
Do the amendment first.
With the amendment.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
So, get us out of here.
Okay, the,
I'm sorry, I rushed you. Just do a
Yes,
voice
you
vote,
did.
all in favor for the amendment.
an ordinance of the maximum sal,
11-25.
yeah, an ordinance maximum 20, okay.
We're just doing a voice vote on the amendment.
So all in favor of amending 11-25?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And now, Mr. President,
Okay.
I make a motion that we adopt 11-25 as amended.
I
Second.
second.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, motion's been made and seconded that we adopt ordinance 11-25. Roll call.
Powell,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, ordinance 12-25.
Ordinance 12-25, an ordinance fixing the maximum salaries of each and every member of the Muncie Fire Department of the city of Muncie, Indiana for the year 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call.
Gillian,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes. New ordinances. Ordinance 13-25.
Ordinance 13-25, an ordinance to vacate a portion of a certain public alley at 2619 West Ethel Avenue in the city of Muncie, Delaware County, Indiana.
Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
I second that.
A motion's been made and seconded. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on ordinance?
Once again, my name is David Carnes, attorney with Inspiring April 224 West Jackson. I'm representing Bob Huddleston in this matter. I spoke quickly at the public comment. Mr. Huddleston has owned the Tilton Plaza for about 35 years. He's acquired the properties to the north, and those have been torn down. There's been an unimproved alley between those. It's essentially just grass. They kind of thought they were part of the residential area. When they bought it, they found out that it was not. So we're just requesting that that unimproved portion of the alley between his two properties be vacated.
Was that a map?
Members of the public have any questions or comments?
Mr. Mason. I'd like to apologize for you guys being here this long tonight. If we knew that was going to be that long, I would ask to move you up, but I'm sorry that this has happened to you.
Well, I mean, it was a very worthy cause, and you guys obviously have a very difficult job, so my clients have been very enlightened by the process tonight.
Okay, any further discussion from the council?
I just, Mr. President,
Yeah, you go.
just to let you know that I do believe, no, I have nothing to say, sorry.
Mr. President,
Yes, Jerry.
I was out there today looking at the property. Everything looks okay to me.
Okay. Okay, seeing there's no other discussion, all those in favor of introducing ordinance 13-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ordinance has been introduced. Ordinance 14-25.
Ordinance 14-25, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R-4 Resident Zone to the BV Variety Business Zone on premises located at 1300 Block East Centennial Avenue, Muncie, Indiana.
Okay, is there a motion for introduction of this ordinance?
Motion, make a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Anyone here wishing to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Hudson.
Ken Hudson, Executive Director for the Whiteley Community Council. I'm just looking to answer any questions that you may have. If you're wondering about the area, this property is being redeveloped for essential resources on the east side. And the portion of the rezoning is right here. So code dictates that we have to have a certain number of parking spaces in this redevelopment. And without rezoning the east side of the property to add more parking spaces, it can't literally be done. So that's what we're looking to do.
Okay. Councilman Garrett.
Being familiar with, is this slowing the process up that you are currently in right now with the rezoning?
It's not slowing the process up at this moment because we're not at the point where we're laying concrete.
Okay,
So we're not digging at the moment.
okay.
But it's better to have this done now than to try to have it done 30 days before we're supposed to sign contracts.
Yeah, thank you.
And it did pass 7-0 at the planning commission.
It passed unanimously at the Metropolitan Planning Commission.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Any council have any questions or comments?
I do. Thank you for bringing that up. 7-0. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a question.
Mr. Mason, President Mason.
Bro.
Since you're here and you have a beautiful picture here, could you describe what's going on with the Whiteley? Just take
Yes.
2 minutes, maybe?
Yeah,
I'm in.
I'll give you my elevator pitch.
Yes.
Okay, because we've been here for a long time. So at the corner of MLK and Centennial, the Neighborhood Association owns a property at 1208 East Centennial that's being redeveloped into a space where residents can receive different services that will help move them from one state of life to a more prosperous state of life. The goal here is to provide a wraparound list of services that will holistically help individuals improve their quality of life. We're talking healthcare, housing support, financial literacy programs, credit repair programs, mentoring programs, all sorts of things under the roof. The only thing, there's even outdoor venue space. So there's public and private space where people can actually lease space here, hold public and private events. It'll give the community a space where they can hold functions and not have to leave the community to hold that function. The only thing that won't happen in this location is sports and recreation. But it will do everything essentially that a community center will do except for the sports and recreation.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, since this was, has already been approved by the Plan Commission, Can we suspend the rules on it?
Yeah, I mean, you need to introduce first, then it would need to be a motion to suspend the rules to adopt at the same meeting it's being introduced, which requires a unanimous vote,
Okay.
and then a third vote to adopt.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll second that.
Well, hold on.
First, you need to introduce.
Yeah, has there been a motion to introduce?
Yes.
we
Yes,
vote on
so
that.
just vote all
Okay.
in favor for the introduction.
Motion to introduce. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now, motion to suspend.
Mr. President, I make a motion to suspend the rules and adopt ordinance 14-25 this evening.
Second. Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we
To suspend the rules.
suspend the rules on this. Roll call.
Basham?
Yes.
McIntosh?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Fishman?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Gillian?
Yes.
President Mason?
Yes.
9 yes.
You want to make a motion to adopt?
Okay.
Now we need a motion to adopt.
Yeah,
Mr. President,
okay, I got you.
President, I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 14-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's
Moving
been
on.
made and seconded to adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Well, we have.
We
We
need
have
to,
to do a roll
Roll call vote?
yeah, we need a roll call for the adoption.
Okay, roll call.
Fishman?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Gillian?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
McIntosh?
Yes.
Basham?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
President Mason?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay. Ordinance 15-25.
Excuse me. Ordinance 15-25, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehension Zoning Ordinance from the R-3 resident zone to the BV Variety Business Zone on premises located at 1300 North Milton Street, Muncie, Indiana.
Hey, is there a motion for introduction of this ordinance?
So
So,
moved.
oh, sorry.
Oh.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this ordinance? Yes, sir.
Good evening, council members. I'm here to represent Net Lease Properties, who are looking for the rezone to your variety business to construct a 7 Brew coffee shop on the corner of West McAllen and North Milton Street.
That's the same 7 Brews on Tillotson?
What's that?
Is that the same 7 Brews on Tillotson?
I don't know.
Yes.
Probably looks
Yeah,
like a
yeah. I would assume so.
Yeah.
So they'll have 2 locations.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody from council have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, quick question for you.
Sure.
You have the map, right? 3307 and 3308, those 2 houses. I know that one that you're rezoning is a buffer. It's supposed to be just for a buffer, right? Would you describe what do you mean by that? And have you, I know you have your, you did your due diligence and you put notices in the newspaper, but since 3307 and North Milton, right? And 3308 are directly affected, they're right there. Have you guys made efforts to contact those 2 neighbors?
The only thing I know is the letters. I have not made contact with them. Are you talking about the neighbors to the
Yeah,
north?
just like the first set, one on the east
Uh,
and one on your,
I have not made contact with them.
Okay.
But
I'm less worried about 3307 than I am 3308. Do you
What-
want me to show you where they are?
yes, please.
Come here. So there's Milton, this is 3307, right? And this is 3308. And this is gonna be your buffer area right here.
Yes.
So could you describe what do you mean by buffer? And what are the efforts to create a buffer between the neighbors?
There's landscape buffers.
Okay,
We can also, if we need to, install a privacy fence
Mhm.
along that that north edge if need be. We will follow any type of municipality code to, to make it go. We want to be consistent with the buffers to the adjoining residential properties. So I think there's a Valvoline right to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to follow that same type of buffer as what everybody.
I know it got a favorable recommendation, but my personal concern would be 3307 and 33. 3307, I looked at a picture in the summer. There's enough trees that you can't see. So that is covered, but I'm worried about the winter and how people feel about that. So I want you to think about that. And then 3308 is across the street. And I just want to make sure that because the people are going to be coming around, I'm assuming in that. And then there's going to be a neighbor and there's drive-through. I'm just drove by a couple of times, imagining how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So think about a privacy fence before you come back next time. I know this is introduction, but these are things that I'm going to be asking about.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also will, the next time also more information about the traffic pattern and how that'll affect, because I mean, I know the one on Tillotson is quite busy every morning. And, you hate to see like back up on a street or on a neighborhood street too, so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of introducing this ordinance, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Good to go.
Ordinance 16-25.
Ordinance 16-25, an ordinance amending ordinance 33-24, fixing the maximum salaries of each and every appointed officer, employee, deputy, assistant, departmental, and institutional head of the city of Muncie, Indiana, included herein for the year 2025.
Okay, is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this ordinance?
Audie Barber. A couple years ago, you guys got a raise and the old council forfeited that raise. Is this going to give you guys your raise finally?
No,
But you already got that one, right?
no.
No.
We didn't get it.
No.
Wasn't a yearly raise that you guys were supposed to get and you forfeited? The other council forfeited for you guys? Okay, well, I just didn't know if this was part of that or not.
Less now than we was. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
So we're getting less now than we were.
Oh, you guys got your budget cut?
Yeah, we got good.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
We appreciate serving.
I think you guys need your raise too.
Yes, we are.
We
Instead of spending $650,000 on a building over here, give you guys a raise.
We didn't spend that.
That's right.
Hello. Yeah, this is salary ordinance. This is fixing salaries for everybody from the, for 2025. And these are going to be paid out of the edit funds.
What fund?
What? I'm sorry.
I didn't.
What
They're
fund?
paid out of where?
What?
Edit. Raises.
What was the total cost of the city? Does this include the AFSCME raises and the civilian
All of
raises?
it's $159,000.
159?
Yes.
I've got one other question.
Yes. sir.
I noticed that there was a Channel 60 director on here. What is that?
That's the communication director. This is the salary, or that's the one that you cut that we are funding out of edit funds already.
Okay.
So that's still so all of
Yes.
these are coming out of edit.
This is just setting the salaries and it's getting paid out of edit.
So just for clarification on what Councilperson Gullion said, the entire salary for Channel 60 director is coming out of edit, not just
Yes.
the raise. Okay, thank you. I'm just
Yes.
curious. Thank you, sir.
Okay, does council have any more questions?
We can,
Does this include the paver also?
Pardon?
Your paver? Did you have that in there also?
I don't understand the question.
is there a new position created within any of the departments
No.
that is not?
No.
Okay.
There wasn't a paving, are you saying paving position? There wasn't a paving position created for, out of a new paving position?
I'd have to get with Adam on that, so.
And so if there were, it's not in here and it's not in the budget,
No,
so that
it's,
person would not be paid.
the salary ordinance that is presented is what we.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Any members of the public have any questions or comments? Any discussion from council? Okay, all those in favor of introducing ordinance 16-25, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ordinance has been introduced.
Thank you.
Okay, resolutions. Resolution 9-25.
Resolution 9-25, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie, Indiana, approving the collective bargaining agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees and Council 962 ASME Local 33656. 33656, my bad.
Make a motion to introduce adopt resolution 9-25.
Second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on resolution 9-25? Yes, sir.
Nate Burgess, president of ASME 3656. I just, figured I'd stand up here if you had any questions, I could answer. It's been a long 2 years.
Yes.
We finally got it done, so.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. Burgess, could you explain your contract? We had asked police and fire to explain their contract last year. What was your percentage raises? Any concessions that you made to get to that point? And I do appreciate your patience. You ASME employees have showed up and done exemplary work, and it has been a long 2 years. So I just want to give you a moment to discuss your contract, sir.
Thank you. We got a 2% raise. We negotiated for 3%. The mayor gave us a 1% at the first of the year, so additional 2 on top of that. As far as concessions, we're gonna be here till tomorrow, so I'll just, I'll email you guys that. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Is there anyone else
I
here
just-
wishing
I
to
got it.
speak?
Go ahead.
One at a time, don't fight over me, gentlemen.
I just want
That's
to
weird.
want to commend you guys for hanging in there as you did it's been a long 2 years, like you said. I just feel for you because, I see where 2 other unions never gave up anything, but you guys had to give up a lot, in order to get things done. So my heart goes out.
I just want to speak on behalf of you, union wise. My dad was in that union. I don't even know how long. I mean, I didn't want to take a guess, but
Since I was wet behind my ears, your dad.
yeah, you were there. I was in it. I know you and respect you like a brother. Are you happy? Are you satisfied with this?
Knowing that if something comes down the pipe now, that I can file a grievance and it has to be answered,
Yep.
It's
Now,
that's worth the world.
okay, what about our previous our agreements? Are they under this?
All of them had to be dropped.
Okay, all right, that's what I wanted. Okay. Thank you. There's not a road that's paved. There's not if you go out to the reservoir, there's not a pier that's put in. There's not a pier that is weed eated. There's not a place at the reservoir that is mowed. There's not a place in the city that is mowed, a park that is mowed without ASME. We love the police and firemen too, but when you drive our thoroughfares through the city and you have people come visit, mowing, weed eating,
Picking up trash all the way down McGaggard.
Everything.
That's a big one.
Everything, is asked me. I commend you. I have a plaque from Ask Me the day that my dad died. You were the first ones to show up.
Your dad was a good man.
And console my mom. And you have always asked how she's doing every time I see you. We have yards that are mowed and streets that are paved and plowed and salted. You do not get enough. So I will applaud you and stand up during this applaudment to thank you for bus safety. Sidewalks to the bus safety for the kids and everything. So ask me from the bottom of my heart, and we appreciate you. And I just applaud you. I really do.
Thanks, Chris.
Not to mention, 30 years of a bus driver for your mom?
Yep.
That's an accomplishment. So thank you. Thank you.
Any further
Thank you.
discussion from the council?
I just, curious, being the ex-union person, I'm sorry, but you're up here, I just need to ask this question. Did you guys even try to go for the 5%, or they just, and I know I'm getting into logistics.
We asked for
whatever.
more than 3.
Okay.
I'm sorry that it wasn't given.
You win some, you lose some.
That's all I have.
It's not exactly what we wanted, but it's a step in the right direction.
We appreciate you.
Okay, any further discussion from the council? Roll call.
Garrett,
Yes.
Public?
Hold on just a second.
Go ahead.
You gonna know they've already started the count.
Basham,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Scullion,
Yes.
Mason.
Yes. I apologize, Mr. Barber. I kind of jumped the gun on that one.
You just had to add more time on the end.
Hey, that ball game's on.
I know, right?
Okay, resolution 10-25.
Resolution 10-25, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie opposing Indiana Senate Bill 1.
Is there a motion for approval of resolution
So moved.
10-25?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this resolution?
I'm up here.
All right.
I'm sorry. I know it's late. I'm gonna try to keep it to 3 minutes, but honestly, this is actually the most important thing you guys are talking about tonight. Like it's the root cause of all of the issues you had early on. It's the root cause of it happened with AFSCME. The state of Indiana is trying to cut the city of Muncie. That's what the state of Indiana is trying to do. SB 1, I mean, it's not completely hammered out. There's a lot of forms. There's forms that call for abolishing all property taxes. There's forms that call for abolishing part of it to change the assessment process. All of them are harmful to the city of Muncie. They're harmful to the city of Muncie, they're harmful to Delaware County, they're harmful to East Central Indiana, they're harmful to almost any city in the state, especially ones that have any population with poverty. And this is for not just council, but everybody in the audience. This is important because you don't hear a lot of this in the discussion when you hear about this bill. Everyone in the audience, from the mayor to his administration to the council to the average person watching online or in the audience, should call the following representatives in opposition to SB 1. They should call Representative Elizabeth Routray, who represents in Delaware County. They should call Representative J.D. Prescott, who represents Delaware County. They should call Representative Sue Arrington, mostly represents the city of Muncie. And Senator Scott Alexander should also get calls. It's out of the Senate, but it can always come back. Indiana is the 10th most tax-friendly state in the nation, according to the Tax Foundation. And there's actually no competition between us and our competitor states. So if you look at Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, we are the most tax-friendly of the areas. But what has it gotten us? Obviously, taxes should be as low as we can have them. That's what everybody wants. But stuff needs to get paid for.
Yeah.
Cops need to get paid, firefighters need to get paid, AFSCME members need to get paid. You need cops, you need firefighters, you need roads to be paid. You need a lot of this stuff. And with this bill, it's going to make it harder for us to pay for it. Like, I mean, I've seen 3 economic models of possible legislation that we're looking at. It cuts city budgets anywhere from 5 to 20%. Like a 20% cut to the Muncie city budget is just, we would have to fire like 10, 15 cops at least. Same with firefighters. Like there's no mathematical way to pay for it. Now, there are some proponents in the legislature who say, well, we'll cut your property taxes, but we'll let the municipalities raise their local income taxes. And that's the most cowardly part of this whole thing. Like that is actually something you're going to see here. The state of Indiana is advocating their responsibility to pay for essential things. And what they're going to do is they're going to force people like you, like in every city and county in the entire state, to make hard decisions. How are we going to pay cops? How are we going to pay firefighters? And we're fighting over $500,000 today.
Yeah, right.
Like in the future, we're fighting over $10 million cuts because of this bill. It is important to be unanimously against this in opposition. The Delaware County Council was in opposition to this. Like, it is terrible for us. It is like, if you care about law enforcement and fire, if you care about people, if you care about the roads being paved, I mean, if you go on Facebook, that's all you can hear about. If you care about any money for economic development in the state, care about anything. If you care about parks, do you like going to McCullough Park or Toohey Park? Do you like swimming at the pool? Anything else that has to do with the city, do you care about it? If you do, again, I'm going to repeat, you should call the following members of the state House and Senate and ask them to vote no. You should call Representative Elizabeth Rowray. She is on the Ways and Means Committee. It's currently being heard in committee right now. They got a pause today. They didn't fully vote on the full legislation today. Representative J.D. Prescott. She represents mostly Yorktown and a small portion of Northwest Muncie. There is Elizabeth Representative J.D. Prescott represents the eastern portion of Delaware County. He's also on the Ways and Means Committee. So they both have outsized impacts on this. Representative Sue Arrington, she's not on the committee, you should still call her. She represents the city of Muncie. And then Senator Scott Alexander. You should call all of them in opposition. You can find their numbers online. And everyone should do it, whether you're, again, from the mayor to the average person online, should be in opposition to this and should be publicly in opposition to this. So that's all I have to say. I hope the people, I'm sorry for keeping you guys a little longer. This is the most important thing you guys talk about.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this resolution? Does the council have any questions or comments? No.
I will say, Seth, you turn that Pacers hat front. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Rick Yenser, newsman and author. Before you do something that you might regret, you might need to know too that in that $1 billion that they want to cut taxes are ways to recover the taxes. It's kind of like what we saw the other night in Congress until about 3 in the morning, where they passed a reconciliation bill to cut $7 trillion in spending. You're going to find out that you're going to be on the losing end either way with the state or the federal government when they cut back spending, and they will. There's nothing you can do other than try to spend what you have and do and live within your means. It's like tonight. I sat here for 2 hours, and I've been around here a long time. And to hear, well, we can't use edit money for salaries here, but, oh, we did it there. Again, you need to pay attention because, again, you haven't seen the end of what the state and the federal government will do to local government and local schools. So think about what you're going to do here.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
I will make one comment, sorry. I just want to, I know I brought this up last month too, but just from the early models of this, we were going to lose anywhere between 300,000 to over 2 million in just the first year. Again, as Mr. Rawlings mentioned, we don't know exactly how it's going to shake out, but it's going to be somewhere, between those. So it's a lot of money, and that's the first year, and then it continues to get worse after that. So.
Mary Beth Lambert, 2010 South High Street. Really quick, because I know we're all really tired, but when I go pay my taxes, the ladies all are like, oh, here she is again. Because I am probably the only person who walks in that office on an annual basis and says, I'm not paying enough taxes. I got my 2 bills the other day because I own the house next door to me. It's a rental, exact same size. I pay less than $500 for the house I live in. I have 1 exemption, homestead. I don't have a mortgage. I own it outright. I have a second lot that's attached to that, that's incorporated. Our road was paved last summer. First time in 35 years. I can tell you the less than $500 I pay in property tax did not pay for a quarter of what was directly in front of my house for that job. When I walk out the door every morning, and for anybody who thinks their property tax is like maybe too high, think about it this way. You walk out the door and you have expectations of what your city, state, and federal government are giving you. Traffic lights, roads, police officers, firemen, parks. We have the largest park system per acre for a city our size in a 7-state area in the Midwest. And we are the most underfunded park department per acre in that entire area. All of those things that you expect when you walked out the door somehow have to get paid for. I don't cover paving in front of my rental for what I pay for that, and that's less than $800. What does that pay for a police officer? Between my 2 houses, I don't cover one for a week, I'm sure. I don't begin to cover hardly any of the services. So if you're at all interested in how we're going to solve this, all these people behind me and anybody else you want to talk to, property taxes can't get cut anymore. And I know you guys all know this, but this has been like a mantra of mine for about 20 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion from anybody? A roll call.
Powell,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Fishman,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Scullion,
Yes.
President Lee.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, resolution number 11-25.
Resolution 11-25, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie establishing an opioid fund advisory committee. Make a motion.
Is there a motion for approval? of
I
resolution?
would like to make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on that resolution? Mr. Creed.
Here I am again, sorry.
Yeah.
It's so late. One of the realities of the substance use crisis that we are in our community is we have tried the same things over and over again, and we are not seeing success. There are evidence-based solutions that exist in our world for treating opioid use disorder. We need to come up with both creative and evidence-based solutions to address the crisis that we're in. So my encouragement, I would support this resolution, of course, but my encouragement is to draw from the expertise that is in this community. We have a lot of really smart people in this community, and from the evidence that exists about what is actually working, and then try to start doing those things. Other communities are addressing in very tangible, real ways the problems of people with substance use disorder, and we can do that as well. We have been given money that has come on the backs of so many folks who have died, so many folks who are now living on our streets, so many families that have been torn apart, so many people that are in prison and jail right now. And that money has been given because of that, because of the recognition that this is a disorder that can be treated. And we can implement those sorts of treatments in our community to help to address this crisis. So I want to encourage you to figure out a way to pull together the smartest people around who know what they're talking about in this area,
who understand the research of what is working and what is not working, and community, along with community members who are impacted by this, so that those who have firsthand stories and experience and knowledge of what's going on in our neighborhoods. And let's come up with some real solutions. We have a great opportunity to do that with this money. So thank you.
Lynn Whitty again. I usually hate following Neil because he always speaks so well. But my 2 cents worth. One of the things that I've noticed, I found out actually what Neil does and what I do is called embedded planning. It's where you actually don't stay in your office. You go out in the community and you talk to people. I don't have an office. I don't have a boss, but I spend my time out in the community in all the different neighborhoods. And with that, I've learned a lot. And I started learning from Neil and from Jackie Hanover at Ross. And the things you find out about communities stick with you, what you see, what needs to be done. You hear it from people. You walk down a food line and you hear it from people. But the one thing, my 2 favorite words are communication and education. And we don't do that very well. First time I ever saw the city and the county get together was when I made them go to Ball State because I wouldn't go to the city or the county about the IRACS program because it affected everyone. And we had everyone in the room. I don't think that's happened since then. But what I will say is we have a chance. I don't know how you would even consider not having an advisory board of people who know the community. You have people who are very, very knowledgeable about addiction, but you also have people in the community who need to be involved. You don't need a huge group because that doesn't function well, but to chart a course and then never have follow-up, there are things going on in the community that get started. Nobody knows what's going on. This hand's doing something different than that. I have worked with the county on the rehab unit. I took tons of people, like 20 people to 5 different places, looking at crisis centers throughout the state originally when we were working on this. There are people that want to be involved, that are knowledgeable, and to say we hope for the best is nowhere near good enough. And you have to have people who are on top of things to make decisions or suggestions, but also to do follow-up and see what happens with those things. Because, you know, there have been comments about the crisis center. I don't speak to anything I don't know is true. I don't know if those things are true or not. I can't tell you, but I think a lot of the people that are speaking don't know because it really hasn't been disseminated. So we need people to do planning and follow up, you know, advise, because that's what they're there for. And please don't make it random. Please have someone take this money, use it for what it needs to be used for, so we can cover all these bases and we're not losing people along the way. So thank you very much.
Oh, no, I was just going to make a comment, but we'll let Audie talk quickly.
That's pretty quick on it.
Howdy, Barbara. Wow, we in that big of a hurry, we might as well just turn our resignations in and go on home. But anyhow, I lost my train of thought. Sorry? What'd you say? I understand that. I was driving. I worked. Anyhow, you guys can pass all these resolutions you want. Every one of them, every month, you got a different resolution every month that you want to pass to help the community. But until you enact on them and follow through with them, it don't mean nothing. It means nothing. If you guys set up, yeah, we all for this, but you never do nothing with it. You've done spent the money for this year of the opioid money. Might as well table this till next year, folks, because this resolution don't mean nothing. Ain't even worth the paper it's written on, because we don't have the money and it's just something to pacify the people in the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Okay. first, I want to, oh, I'm sorry, is there someone else? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Carolyn Neal, I'm also in Muncie. Do I have to say what street?
No, no.
Okay. By Menards, way over there. But I'm a social work student, and one thing that the evidence is showing is that you need 30% of the community buy-in. So you need the local people, and you need 30% of those people making the decisions about their own community, as opposed to people coming in and saying, this is what you guys need. So we need that, at least that 30% of the community members on that advisory board, in addition to research and in addition to professionals. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sarah?
I just wanted to make a couple comments about it. So first, Mr. Kring, I worked with Mr. Kring and Jean Marie Place from ACDC on this resolution. So I want to thank you for all your input. We did make this. We have a list. I don't know if you all have the resolution, but there is a list of people who will be, categories of people who will be on this. And it is specific. A lot of the things that Mr. Kring mentioned, a lot of the types of people that he mentioned, it is local. That is the whole point of this, is to make this so that we do have experts and people who are local, who know what Muncie needs to fight this, on this. I'm sorry that the administration is no longer here because they are to be involved also. And I hope that they will be. I mean, this again is an advisory committee. In the end, he does, have the final say on some of this. But that's the point of it, is that we will get the local buy-in and figure out what Muncie itself needs.
Real quick. I want to thank everyone involved in this. Muncie has been hit very hard by addiction. It's in all of our families, it's in mine. And so I just want to thank you for that.
And yeah, just one other thing. And this is something actually that the state, that the AG's office, who is in charge of this disbursement, has recommended that municipalities and counties use, is some kind of committee like this. So we are, following their guidelines at this point. So
It's required.
it's not required, but it is recommended, strongly suggested. Yes, yes.
I just want to take a moment to thank Councilwoman
Okay, any
Gillian.
further discussion? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I apologize to you. I just want to take a moment to thank Councilperson Gillian for sponsoring and authoring and help author this. I think this is great. And this is another opportunity for us as a community to take control and not fight over opioid money. So that 15% and 35%, hopefully this will be a healing point, and it would give committee some directions, and that way we're not saying cops don't deserve it, firefighters don't deserve it. So I think this is gonna be a very positive thing that glues everything and brings us all back together as a community to help people in need. So thank you for that.
Any further discussion from the council? Roll call.
Garrett,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Dishman,
Yes. Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
President Mason.
Yes. Mr. Westbrook.
Hello, good evening. My name is
Curtis, just 1 minute. We're gonna ask for expediency that everybody keep their comments, and then we'll be flexible, but try to keep them under 3 minutes. It's getting late.
all righty. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Curtis Westbrook, a lifelong resident of Muncie. And I'm basically here to ask a question, but I want to frame some things before why I asked the question. I want to say, first of all, that the question I'm going to ask, I think it should be answered by citizens of the community. I would like to say that, to reflect back and say that when I grew up here in Muncie, we two things we can count on in the summertime: summer jobs and
Summer recreation.
summer recreation.
Mm-hmm.
Summer jobs, summer recreation. Since the city used to have 3 centers. Okay. Since they've let go of those centers, and they've also closed down the South Madison Center and the center we're supposed to get the Hope 6 grant, never came to fruition. I don't know whether anyone's noticed it or not, or whether it's even important, but school athletics in Muncie has degraded, has gone down. We need a community center for that reason, and also to where we've lost a generation of kids because we can't get them. We need, the churches apparently are not doing it. You know, neighborhood associations are not getting it done. Special interest groups are not getting it done. We need a city-run, city-owned, city-funded community center. And people say, well, the YMCA, well, back when we had 3 community centers, the YMCA was in existence then too. There's enough kids to go around. YMCA is private, it costs money, some people can't afford it. The community center, and the way I look at it, we can afford it because, as a city, because we've got Ball State University, they say they care about kids. Ivy Tech say they care about kids. Ball Foundation, the city, edit tax funds, community foundation. We have all types of money and funds, but we need to put our money where our kids are. Summer employment, if money makes a difference in a household, these kids working 3 or 4 hours a day for 3 months over the summer, money to go into the household, that helps tremendously. So the community center would be a part of that, but also I think the way we pay for the community center is through Ball State and through Ivy Tech and through Community Foundation, through all the people that say they have an interest in kids. Let's do this. Also,
30 seconds.
okay. This is the question I want to ask. I'd like to know how or if or what it takes to have a referendum for the community to vote whether or not we want to designate our tax dollars for a new community center. Not from brand new, but maybe like the YMCA, that OY. Revamp that, or some type of building or something. Nothing new, but we need a community center. And to have the people to vote whether or not we want not new tax dollars, but designate tax dollars that we already are getting to that community center. Like I said, we still got Ball State, Ball Foundation, Ivy Tech. We got all these other entities that have an interest in kids. Let's put our money where our kids are if we're really serious about it. So I'd like to know is what would it take to have a referendum to find out whether or not the city residents would go for a community center being paid for by tax dollars or combination of tax dollars and Ball State and the other entities.
I'm not sure that's possible, but I can certainly look into it.
Sure. I really think we really need that community center. I mean, it's we're missing a lot.
Well, we've been in talks with the mayor about them. Well, he was over it.
Yeah.
And he was talking about using edit dollars to do this center. And then I hear from some of my fellow councilmen that he's also committed at one time opioid funds.
Yeah.
I've never heard him say anything about opioid funds.
Yeah, I heard that too. I was going to mention something about that. Yeah.
But, you know, every time that I've talked to him about it, it's been edit dollars.
Let me also say this. I don't think it's the responsibility of churches, community, churches, neighborhood associations, special interest groups to recreate the public. I think our tax dollars, we as citizens, have that responsibility to recreate our public. Like I say, the YMCA is private; they cost money, but as designating our tax dollars to do that would take care of a lot of those situations. So that's my question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. You weren't here last meeting. The mayor did state on record that, he was gonna look into the edit fund money to try to do something with this youth center. So, this council, well, I know this council person, we're gonna try to hold him to his word, so.
If it's not budgeted, if the money's gonna be coming through
But we gotta
grants and
start somewhere.
donations, all that kind of stuff, it's gonna fizzle out because it's not consistent.
There's
You
ways to
can't
do
run
it.
a community center like that.
There's ways to get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Kurt, I got one thing too, Mr. Westbrook. We just spent 2 hours, what, 2.5 hours on the opioid epidemic. And what you're speaking about is the number one thing that will cut down on that epidemic. You were there. I graduated with Todd. You were there from 6th grade until our senior year of football with Coach Paul.
Correct.
I know numerous kids that came from single family households that I won't say the names, but I know personally you had an impact on. That was just there. The impact in sports is very underutilized. The impact in a good coach from a single family household is very underutilized. It is super underutilized, that you do not know what the impact. I grew up in the Ross Center, and we had a man named Bird Kissick that was there every day, and he knew what group you were to hang out with and what group you weren't to hang out with. And he told you every day. And he saved numerous kids. And those community centers are about the number one thing that's most important to me. That's what it all starts at home. And I believe those community centers at home, in your neighborhood, where you're comfortable, where you ride your bike, where you jump in the mud puddle. And that is number one, where it cuts down on everything from the ground up. So I appreciate you.
Athletics.
It is, but it's the mentorship that comes with those youth centers that you don't get. It is more than athletics. It is the mentorship that you get when you're there, that those kids at the Ross Center get with Miss Jackie. They get with Neil. Neil, I see you back there. You are underutilized too, and underappreciated. Just the riding a bike in the neighborhood that Neil does for those kids to see, and Miss Jackie being able to just someone to talk to. So thank you for bringing that up.
And this is my last thing I'll say. The gentleman from the from the Ross Center that we recognized earlier.
Yeah, David. Yeah.
We can have so many of them if we had a community center.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of our kids.
Yep.
We just need a place to corral them,
Yep.
get with them, and do something.
Yep.
You know, I'm not. A lot of my friends we're not afraid of our kids.
No.
We just need a place to corral them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cream, Neil, Mr. Cream, you on the list?
If you want to speak again.
Oh, okay. See, Mary Beth down there. Oh.
But really quick, in relation to what just walked out the door, do a little research, read your state constitution, and learn how your park department is supposed to be set up as a park district, and everything would change drastically, because what's the difference between a department and a district? Sanitary district. Who has money? Who doesn't have money? And according to the state constitution, it's supposed to be a park district. So anyways, hey, I would like to talk to you guys about having the street department put 2 or 3 much needed signs up down at the south turnabout, just south of Cannon Commons, where your right-hand lane headed south on High Street going past the hotel must turn right. And if you're coming up Walnut Street, as you're on the right-hand lane and you're going into the curve to go behind Cannon Commons, you must turn right. As an individual who lives south of downtown, works in downtown, takes care of the park, I can tell you there are at least 250 near misses at that roundabout, because I am it. And that is not even the ones that we witness working in the park or the actual accidents. Yes, they have arrows on the street, but if they just put signs up, which according to like state law, they should have a sign up about a block and a half back from those turns that literally say right lane must turn right. That is not there. A daughter of a driver's ed teacher, please put the signs up.
Thank you.
Mr. Barber?
I'll try to make this short and sweet. I appreciate everybody up there on that council. But when you got people sitting out here talking to you folks about objects going on, about business of this city, and you're sitting back there on your cell phones, that is a problem. Dropping cell phones on the floor and, oops, I'm sorry, and standing back there playing with your phones. I'd like to see an ordinance brought that the council should not be allowed to play on their phones while they're doing business. I know my kids and grandkids in school are not allowed to play on their phones while they're doing business. So I'd appreciate your respect, because we're giving you respect to be here, to stay off your cell phones, please. And you guys are letting these city administration walk all over you. You was lied to several different times tonight. There was a gentleman up here that said he didn't know nothing about a new paver person. And you know what his answer is? And his answer to everything that anybody ever asks him? I'll get back with you on that. But yet we still go ahead and vote for what he's wanting before he can have a chance to get back to you on that. You guys have to slow this administration down, because what they're doing to you is, just like I said once before, everybody knows what that means. And yes, Mr. Basham, I'm talking about you too. You sit up there and you don't hardly say anything. You represent as a stamp man for the mayor. You need to reach down and feel if you got a backbone back there and stand up to this nonsense that's going on in this city. It's not right. You guys ask a question and they tell you, oh, I'll have to get with Adam on that. I'll get back to you on that. I guarantee you, if I wouldn't have said anything, he would have never got back to any one of you guys on that. And I guarantee you, he won't get a hold of you between now and the next meeting on that. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I think that's probably what's happening. So, and I watch him on the Board of Works, and he does the same thing to the Board of Works, and they just passed. So keep that in mind when you guys are up there, because we're asking you guys to do our job for us. And when we stand at this microphone and you guys go against the grain of these people up here, back here, wanting you to do it their way, and you still go ahead and vote for something, then that's an issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it. Nobody has anything else. I entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.